Hi guys, I'm David with Transparency Fitness Live, and I'm with Josh Samples, and he has one of the coolest wedding venues that I've ever had a chance to shoot at, and I just had to have him on because his venue and what they do is so unique, and really his background is quite awesome, and so I was like, we got to have this guy on to talk about what he does and kind of the history of like how you got to where you're at. Because I mean, you really, number one, you're in a small town that has one of the most unique wedding venues that I've ever been at, and you guys offer things that I think a lot of wedding venues should be listening and be stealing some of this stuff they do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and thank you for having me. So I guess to give you a little background, I grew up in a garden center. My grandfather had a garden center. And then I went on to UK, studied horticulture. So I've pretty much been surrounded by plants my whole life. And I think that's kind of what led me on the path that eventually took me to operating the venue.
Have you always been into horticulture? I mean, was that something, even though that like, was that something you feel like you were pushed into, or just something that you just naturally just like, I really like this. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. At first, it was something that I felt pushed, because it was my whole family, and I just naturally wanted to do anything but that. But then as I got into college and, exploring more with it, I kind of was able to find my own voice with it.
Okay.
And that kind of started with the floral design. And that really enabled me to kind of experiment with different mediums and try different outlets for the creativity. And that's kind of what led me on the path to, doing the vertical gardens, and then on to more of clothing with the flowers, and then into the venue itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going into University of Kentucky, getting your degree, do you think that your experience with your family helped getting that degree, or was it kind of a whole new experience once you got into college?
No, it definitely helped. I mean, the background that I'd had working year after year in the garden center definitely helped. It was a lot more science based than what I'd ever really experienced.
So more application, not just doing it.
Yeah.
Like very specific application. Like, this is how we do this, where you might have had multiple different ways that you did it back. Up with your parents.
Well, my thing was never really that I wanted to grow plants or anything, but that's kind of the field that I was, going into.
Right.
Unintentionally. Like, I really wasn't. I was just trying to pick something that would work, because I feel like, when you're that age, you don't really know.
Did you go right out of high school?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you're like 18, 19 years old here.
Yeah. And so I was just picking, kind of whatever I thought I would be able to work with. But then it was really through taking art classes that I really kind of was able to branch out and really kind of come into my own with, I took a fiber class, which was awesome. One of the best professors, Arturo Sandoval, really cool guy. And he took us on some cool field trips and showed us some just different, a college outside of Detroit, just different experiences that I hadn't seen before. And this was just something really cool in working with him that kind of opened my mind in a different way, because I was always...
So you didn't know how you were going to kind of match that horticulture to the art, or you didn't even know that that's what you were interested in till it hit you?
No, I was still just experimenting, right, and trying whatever, but I kept going back to plants and flowers and kind of incorporating that somehow, because it was so ingrained in, who I am. So I really feel like it was at that point that I kind of saw that I don't just have to do like a garden center or a landscape designer, that I could really kind of branch out into something different.
That's kind of unique that, a lot of people, and we're going to get into it further on, a lot of people probably don't do. And some of the stuff that you've come up with and done is pretty awesome, unique. We're also going to have some pictures for you guys a little bit later on. So college, you graduate from college. Where do you go from there?
Then I went back to my small town of London.
Okay.
I was there for maybe 6 months, 9 months. I don't even really know how long I was there. And my mom shows me this article about this designer in France. His name was Patrick Blanc, and he was doing these vertical gardens, and that kind of started a whole entirely a new path.
Can you explain to me what a vertical garden is?
Yeah, so it's what he creates is it's a framework that sits off the surface of a building, right? So a vertical surface, and it's this framework, and then you've got a series of kind of like felt, and then running water, and then the plants there's slits that are made, and the plants kind of go into those slits.
Okay.
The water keeps running. It's kind of like a hydroponic system.
Okay.
But it's on the side of a building. So he has these that are huge, massive structures that are just beautiful. So that really inspired me. So I started I was using pallets that were just around the garden center, and I was stapling fabric to those and kind of mimicking his system, and just kind of showing that to anybody that would really listen and pay attention to it. And by doing that, I ended up getting contacted by a guy that was manufacturing these pockets that were made out of recycled water bottles. And he would use the pockets to create vertical gardens. So this is like, kind of a newer way of doing it.
Right. So almost like a windowsill to the vertical gardens, like something that sits out and sits on the vertical garden itself, right?
Well, no. So this was like a pocket that had these little grommets, little holes in it.
Okay.
And you would screw it into the wall, and it was protected on the backside so the water wouldn't get through. So you could do it virtually anywhere. It was just a more accessible way of doing the vertical gardens. It was something that just anyone with a drill could essentially put together. So anyway, long story short, he wants me to, meet him in Louisville and show him some just design work that I've done, basically. And then he asked me to create a vertical garden using his product. I do that, and then he invites me to come to California and live for a while, and that started an entirely new path at that point,
right?
Of doing these vertical gardens, and that you do have some pictures of.
Oh yeah, we can pull those up. You also had mentioned to me that didn't you work at a big horse event, right?
Yeah, so that was the World Equestrian Games.
World Equestrian Games.
That was here in
and that was kind of before you headed out to California, right?
No. So that was when I came back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'd already been doing working with these. So this picture here is from a project that I did in Chicago, where there were multiple companies at this environmental place. So there were multiple vertical garden companies, and this was my design. And actually, as soon as I got finished with this, there was a huge hailstorm that came through and completely shredded it. I wish I had that picture to show you, because it was just completely shredded, all the fragments laying on the floor. But anyway, it was still a very cool part of getting to work and do this process. Like, I was able to travel all over the country and build these vertical gardens, which was something I loved. So you got a lot of practice. So you worked for this company doing sales on selling these. Well, I wasn't even doing sales. I was just coming, like the product had already been sold to them, and then I would just come in and create a big display.
That sounds pretty fun for someone that's artistic, that enjoys that type of.
Yeah,
it's so niche though.
Yeah, completely.
Like, how many other people are doing this?
No, it started out that I was just taking over one specific area, and then it became like it went from the southeast to the whole eastern side of the United States, and then it was the Midwest, and then it was the West Coast, and so I was basically all over building these.
And there probably weren't other companies and other guys like yourself just doing this, right? You were kind of a unique person in the aspect.
Yeah, because it's definitely. There are other, I think, people trying different things, but this company was very successful at marketing and getting their name out there, and I think they had enough money backing the whole thing to really push it aggressively at the beginning. So it was really able to get it in garden centers all over.
And then you got them in all the garden centers.
Yeah. And so I would just show up. I'd fly in and pick out their nicest stuff in the garden center and create a beautiful display.
That sounds like fun.
I loved it. Yeah, it was great.
So after that, you guys kind of hit a point where you guys were kind of in all the garden centers, right? They kind of
yeah. So it was kind of like basically that part was done.
How long did that take?
Almost 2 years.
2 years, okay.
Yeah. Of getting it into different, because there's only so many large garden centers in the United States. So once it was in all of those and everything was set up, that part kind of wrapped up. There was a local designer here in Lexington that had reached out to me, wanting me to kind of rep a product that they were working on, and that started the next process that brought me back to Kentucky. And so I did that
for the first time.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, of many. And so then I started working on that, and that's when I kind of got the idea for the venue.
Okay.
Was during that time, because I was working in that kind of like sales, but I was also working in some of their events and things that they were doing. So
your parents had this area right across from their house.
Yeah.
Because the swimming pool is already there, right?
It was, yes.
So they have this. We don't have a picture of the swimming pool, do we?
No.
I wish you'd sent me one. This swimming pool is awesome, guys. Like the venue itself is pretty amazing. It's a one of a kind venue. What we need to do while we're talking is figure out how to find the video I shot of the venue.
Yeah.
Because that would be amazing. We'll pop up some of the video at some point in time during this podcast. I will cut it in. But this venue is really unique. So before, it was just kind of the family hangout spot, right?
Yeah, I mean, my father builds swimming pools, so it was his demo site where he would bring clients and show them all the different. And
you kids would
options.
Jump in and show how well the swimming pool worked.
Yeah, exactly. So it was definitely a large pool and demo area, but it hadn't reached anything like what it is now. It was mainly the pool, and then there was a kind of a grassy area. But the place where I had worked in LA would transition every weekend into an event space. So I think it was this combination of things happening that by the time I got back to Kentucky and there's this beautiful, landscaped area, I thought, this would be a perfect event space.
Yeah. And so I mean, what was the process of turning it into? I mean, mostly it does weddings. I know you do a lot of other things, but I know specifically weddings are kind of your biggest thing that you do at this event space.
Yeah. Yeah. So it started out 1 or 2 weddings a summer, which would progress into, 4 weddings the next year. And every little bit of money that I made, I would just put right back into building another structure or
improving the space itself.
Yeah. It was always about just trying to push it so that it was more accommodating, because I would learn something after every event of, we need X number of chairs in this area, or, we need more tables, or any number of things. And then
at some point in time was Chicago where you went next?
Yes.
Or Minneapolis?
Minneapolis first. So
okay.
I had started the business. It was going for maybe 2 or 3 years, but it was still really slow at this point. There was just 1 or 2 weddings a year. And so I had moved to Minneapolis and started I was working for a garden center there, and I would just, I was trying to do whatever I could basically to get established in the city.
And kind of get back to that creative aspect with the plants.
Yeah.
And creating these different structures or whatever you could do.
Well, that was what got me to the place, because I had met this owner doing a vertical garden at his garden center. So that's how I even had the connection to begin with. And so I was hired on to kind of do that portion, but also do containers, landscape, whatever they needed done. And so I did that for almost 2 years. And then I branched out, went out on my own.
And you were still flying back and forth, like to Kentucky. So anytime you guys had a wedding, you were coming back in town to work on, to pretty much, run that wedding.
Yes. Yeah. That was kind of like the
Was that difficult?
Yes.
Like,
I would handle most everything remote. You know,
well, that's what I was wondering. Are you doing these calls to these couples and you're like setting everything up, and you can't be flying back every time? You know, I guess your parents, were they showing the event space for you, and then you would kind of just set up the contracts and everything like that?
Yeah. So I was doing, everything was happening over the phone. And
now, was it just the event space? Because I know now you guys offer so many different things at the event space. Was it just pretty much they were renting just the space at that point in time, or were you still trying to cater to as many different aspects of the wedding for them?
No, I wasn't full service at that point.
Okay.
No.
So it was just like you're renting this space to do the wedding, and then we have some people you can reach out to, but for the most part, cakes, food, all that stuff.
I didn't even have a list at that point. I mean, at that point, there was only two event spaces in the city. One was the community center.
Okay.
And then one was like a cabin type. I don't even know really. It was just two small places that hadn't really, the level of service that I wanted to bring wasn't even in the area.
Right.
So I hadn't really had the experience yet to start offering the services that I offer now. It really took, those first few years of the event going on and kind of stumbling and
what were some of the biggest mistakes that you learned from in those first couple of years not to do, or that you're like, I should have done that?
Yeah, I was thinking about, on the way up, like some of the biggest things are what I control now. So your catering, your photographer, like that's a big one. And that's one I really kind of have the most to say about are the photographers, because I feel like, which is, important for you. I feel
it
like,
is.
Number one, your photographer can't be lazy.
No.
They can't, the whole time they're there, they need to be
I'm
shooting.
pretty sure we're sitting here talking right now because my ass was not lazy when the first time I shot at your guys' event.
It is. That's why you stuck out, because I do see them sometimes, and they're just uninspired, or they're lazy, or it's a hobby, it's not a profession, and for a wedding, that's just something.
Not money you spend.
Yeah, and you should definitely. For a wedding, it can't be like a friend, or this is something they do on the side, and the rest of the time they're doing something completely different that has nothing to do with design or.
Well, they're not growing as well.
Yeah, so I'm very adamant about the photographer needs to be, and you can tell when you look at somebody's Instagram page or something, you can tell if.
I'm just really good at faking it. You never knew.
Well, I don't think you can be a trainer and be lazy. I mean,
that's true.
I feel like that doesn't work.
It contradicts itself.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one of the things.
So having the right people helping out throughout the day was a really big important part.
Yeah, it's the most important part. I mean, you're because that is everything. The food, the music, like once you have the venue, which we have that, it's beautiful.
It is.
Right?
It really is.
But I wanted it to be something more than that. I wanted it to be this level of service that people hadn't really experienced that much, or if they had, they definitely not experiencing it at a wedding venue. So I just wanted to take things that I had picked up, in living in LA or Minneapolis or Chicago, that these restaurants that I had been to, or the levels of service that I had experienced, I wanted to be able to kind of transfer that over.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess kind of doing that back and forth thing kind of made it difficult to really grow the way that you ended up growing when you really committed later on.
Yeah.
Well, you were doing some pretty cool stuff in Minneapolis, weren't you? You had kind of built up a business there.
Yeah, that was where, I was doing really well. I was doing, rooftop gardens. I was working.
You were doing some like really expensive high-end stuff.
Big restaurants. I think there's a picture of the restaurant with the kind of, it's a vertical garden with a fountain in the middle. And
yeah,
it was a project. Yeah, right there, that one. So I actually installed like 5 vertical gardens in this little courtyard space.
Those are live plants, right?
Oh, yes.
And so the water runs through them. and keeps
yes.
them, and then they just have to, I'm guessing, some kind of upkeep.
Well, I was in charge of that too, so I would come back weekly and maintain it.
Oh, that was part of the deal.
Yeah, yeah.
So what happened when you moved away for something like that?
I had hired the company that I worked previously for, so the guy that I already knew.
Now, was there like a standing contract that you had, where like you had to maintain it for X amount of years in exchange for the job? Or?
No, it was just a seasonal, So in Minneapolis, their growing season is super short.
Okay.
Because it gets cold really quickly.
Right.
So it was just seasonal.
But it had gotten to the point though where they would have paid you to come back and keep doing it every season if you'd lived there for years after.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So not only could you build all these clients, got this, because I know this stuff's really expensive. Got paid to actually do the job itself, made decent profit there. And then if you had 10, 15, 20 clients that you'd done that for, then you could have just lived off of just maintaining those every season.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, and that's what I was moving towards.
Right.
Definitely trying.
And you were almost there. I mean,
creating that. Yeah, I mean, I'd done that project and a couple other restaurants and a couple different rooftops, and I had like a series of clients that I was building, to keep. And then
your partner's like, let's go.
Yeah, yeah. So
let's move away from all this awesomeness.
My partner at the time, was like a chef, and so we decided that Chicago would be the next step, which I don't regret at all. I really enjoyed Chicago too. It was fun. I got to learn a lot, and again, go to different restaurants. And one of the things, like when I recount telling about things that I picked up at restaurants. One of the big ones was I went to this restaurant called Alinea, which is a Michelin star restaurant. But we had went to their bar beforehand. It's another restaurant not a restaurant, but just a bar basically in a different building, but still associated with them. And we had I had still water. My partner had sparkling. We ordered our cocktails and hung out there for like a couple hours. And then we went to the restaurant to have dinner. And we sat down, and they had contacted the place where we were previously and found out who was having still, who was having sparkling, so that when we sat down, they already had it ready for us. And it seems like a very small detail, but it was something that I was so impressed by.
Well, it's a level of service, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was just a very minute detail, but I really loved that they weren't letting anything slip, So I really try to take that into account with everything we do,
So did you attempt to get your kind of business going again there in Chicago?
Actually, no. I just kept commuting.
So mainly now the wedding venue is more of your focus.
Yeah.
Once you got to Chicago.
That was also part of the
and it's a lot closer. What is it, like a 6-hour, 7-hour drive?
Yeah, 6.5, 7 hours. Like it was 14.
Right. So you had to fly then.
Yes, and that was something. That was another reason. Like I was able to be a little closer to the venue because it was requiring more of my time. And also at the same time, I was also still going back to Minneapolis and taking care of these projects. So I was...
Oh, so you still were working with some of those clients.
I did that for, a little while, almost a year. I was still going back and forth. So I was Minneapolis, Chicago, Kentucky, like just back and forth constantly.
All over the place. Man, you've been traveling now for like multiple years.
Yeah, I really love it. I mean, I feel most comfortable as kind of a nomad. Yeah.
So you ended up back in Kentucky, and I'm guessing that's when your wedding venue really started to shape to what it is today.
Yeah. Once I kind of came back and put full focus and, moved back to London, that's when I really started seeing it, take off.
Because, I mean, you guys can set it up to where, like literally the couple doesn't have to do shit.
Yeah, and that's
down to the photographer, the videographer, the catering, like 100% of the even where their guests stay.
Oh yeah. I try to think of every detail possible. I mean, I'll help with setting up fittings for the bride, hair and makeup, fittings for the guys, whatever. I've helped plan bachelor trips and honeymoons, like anything to do with the whole
experience,
wedding process, because I love creating an experience. Like that is just one of the jobs I had had like 5 different jobs when I lived in Minneapolis. I was only there for 3 years, but I had multiple jobs trying to, just make sure I had enough money. But one of them was I worked front desk at a hotel as a concierge, and I loved that job. Like it was so much fun getting to help people plan their evenings. And I think even that was kind of training for what I would now be doing with the weddings.
So you think a lot of kind of what you had been doing up to the point of moving back to Kentucky and really focusing on the venue, it just kind of really helped shape you as a good, I guess, manager for the venue, or like a good, really getting an idea of what the venue needs and offering it. Because like I said, like I've told you this before, when and if I get married, like unless my bride to be just does not want to do it in London,
yeah,
that's where I want to get married, at your venue. I mean, and I've shot hundreds of venues.
Right. Yeah, and I appreciate that. Thank you, because it means a lot, and I kind of get that response from a number of photographers that come through. One, because we're accommodating, we try to make sure, because ultimately at the end of the day, I want to make sure the bride and groom have a good experience. So if that means I have to, kiss ass to the cake lady or whatever it takes to make sure that they are having a good experience and that they don't, nothing negative is coming their way that day.
Right. Well, I mean, you're kind of, I don't want to say wedding planner, because what you do is so much more than wedding planning. But I mean, just the few times that I shot, I've been down there for 2 or 3 weddings now, right? And just like you are everywhere, like you're on top of everything.
Yeah, I mean, I do like almost 20,000 steps just for a short amount of time.
And I swear, you're like every time I see you, you're just like, okay, this needs to go so smooth. We got this. Like you're there, like if this. And it's like you're ready for anything to happen. Like you're just standing there, like ready to go. Your team. That's the other thing I wanted to talk about. It's just like how impressive your team was. I mean, as far as your hiring process or whatever you're doing to bring in these people to work with you guys.
Yeah, I am so fortunate in that respect. It's the venue has kind of created its own.
They seem to somewhat like really buy into whatever you're selling to them.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just straightforward, honest. I'm very clear from the beginning that I want it to be that the experience is of the utmost concern, and even to I want people that are energetic and happy and excited to be there and eager to help. That's one of the things.
So what do you look for in an interview when you're working? When you're like, because I mean, I know you hire a lot of younger high school, right out of high school kids, right?
Yeah.
Which I feel like could be tough to deal with, but maybe you found a way to really communicate and get them to work. But what are you looking for? What stands out to you that helps bring these employees in?
Well, so it's not so much in the interview process, because I guess the interview process for me is I just hire them on and then see how they work, for a little while, because not everybody can fit into it. Not everybody can be accommodating. Some people don't want to clean bathrooms or take the garbage out.
Hands up right there.
And that's a very big part of it, is keeping the bathrooms clean, taking the garbage out. I mean,
again, small details.
Yeah, small details, but
that matter.
That make a huge difference. If you go into a restaurant and the bathroom's gross, that just sets the tone for everything.
Yeah,
so,
100%. I agree with that.
So like every 5 minutes I'm sending, somebody back to do something, clean the bathroom, replenish it. But yeah, those things of just keeping a tidy, clean environment, so that every picture looks good. Because I noticed that in the first few years, it would be this beautiful venue and they're taking a picture and then the table's like full of garbage. So it takes me out of the moment,
So you're thinking about stuff that's in the background that you see these photographers' pictures that are amazing, but then you're in the background and you're like, well, this could be so much better.
Oh yes.
If we had bust the table quicker.
Yeah. Yeah. Or there'll be like a drone shot that was taken early in the day when I had the robot cleaner in the pool.
Right.
So like the drone shot's going and I can see the robot in the pool.
See,
for me,
I would have come find you and be like, hey man, I'm going to get this beautiful shot of your place. Like, can we get rid of whatever that thing is in the pool?
Giant blue cord.
Yeah. Can we move that?
That's got to come out of there. So yeah, I mean, those are things that I try to stay on top of now to make sure that
okay. So the second time I was up there, it poured down rain. And the whole team, I don't even know where you got the plastic wrap. You got all a huge thing of this plastic wrap to go over all the chairs, over the grass. Like, he didn't just put over the chairs, he put over the grass to keep the grass from getting wet.
In a baseball game, that's
yeah, exactly. And then, the whole team, you got 8 people out there just going crazy, making sure. And then soon as right before the wedding's about to start, soon as the rain's done, you guys are out there drying everything off, making trying to keep as little and it's it went so smooth. Minus the rain, but it's the rain didn't even matter to you guys. You guys worked through it and no problems whatsoever. And then you guys had the chairs up so fast so that area could be used for the photographer to start taking pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, your whole team was just busting it like crazy.
And again, that comes with, the years of experience of putting it together. And with the rain, it's something that, I'm an outdoor venue, so that's one of the biggest things I'm up against.
Right. And you're not a huge venue. It's a very nice, quaint venue.
Yeah.
How many do you seat? Do you know, roughly?
We can go up to 150.
150. Okay, yeah. So yeah, you're not a massive venue. I mean,
No.
I would say a little bit above small to medium venue then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not a huge venue, but it's to me, I've worked weddings up to, almost 500 people.
Me too. And it's insane.
It's a lot. It's a lot on the bride. It's a lot on the couple. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of personalities you're having to deal with.
But you try to take a lot of that out for them. I mean, if they go for
me, yes.
if they go for your premier package, right? You're pretty much top of the end package. Hands off. You tell me what you need. Done. No questions asked.
Right. They just talk to one person. We kind of figure out aesthetics, and once we figure that out, then we'll kind of work through and we
haven't even talked about all the flower arrangements. So you have teamed up with a local flower, a local farm. Mm-hmm. And then they bring over these flowers. And I mean, again, you and your team, you and mostly Caitlin. Was it that her name? Caitlin?
Yep. And Abby.
And Abby, yeah. Mm-hmm. We're sitting there just like on the fly as soon as they showed up, just because I got there early before everyone showed up. And just building these really pretty arrangements, based on their colors, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, so I'm so fortunate to have this this team. It's a mother-daughter team, and they grow
sweet as can be.
They're such nice people, and they grow the most phenomenal flowers. Normally for a florist, you're getting your flowers from a wholesaler. So they're getting cut at some kind of a mass production farm, South America, where somewhere. They're getting cut, they're getting put in a box, they're getting dry packed, and then they're getting on a plane and coming here, and it may be almost a week before they get to you, and they're packed tightly, and so that's kind of what's typical. Whereas these ladies are just a little, they're just a few miles down the road. They grow everything. They cut everything that morning. Everything. So
they're super fresh.
Super fresh. Everything comes to me. Every petal is pristine. It's just, I always say every time they show up, it's just a moment in time, because, they probably won't do this forever, but it's, right now I just have the best selection.
So this still allows you to do your art. They bring you these flowers, and then you get, because I think from what I noticed, you're still very hands-on on everything, down to the bouquet.
Oh, I build the bouquets every time.
And that's it's all unique. Every single wedding is unique based on what the bride needs and wants.
So sometimes, this past weekend, the bride gave me a picture of what she exactly what she wanted. So I duplicated it. I made it exactly the way she wanted. Sometimes I get brides that say, I like purple, yellow, white, maybe a little pink, do whatever you want. And then these buckets of flowers will show up, and I'll just have to be inspired by whatever's in the buckets,
And you do that the day of, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So, you've got to plan enough. You got to get there early enough, plan enough to, do the bouquet, do all the table arrangements, right? I'm guessing those are all done by you guys.
Yes.
And then you've got your altar, which I was impressed.
Thank you. Yeah, that's honestly, I have the most fun with that, I think, because it's just
you
a bigger.
It kind of goes back to your little, vertical designs that you did at one point in time. It has that same kind of feel to it, just not building a whole hydroponic system behind it.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I liked about the process, is that everything is, because I'm sticking it in place. So it's a way to create and.
So any big changes coming this year? Like things you're like, I wish we had this in the past. Like you're looking to add this year that is unique?
Honestly, I'm trying not to add this year. Like I've spent every single winter in the past few years doing some big project building. This past year, we wrapped up the extra parking lot. And then now we just finished the chalet.
Which is
the bridal
chalet. I went down there and shot that. That thing is.
We'll have to add the video in.
Yeah. We'll add in some of the video of the chalet. I'll have to send it to our technician, Mr. Keenan. So wrap it into the video once we put it out. But the chalet is, that thing is beautiful, man.
Thank you.
Even though that your bed's been broken like what, once, twice?
Once, almost twice. I don't know what it is about people wanting to jump in a bed.
It's the photographer. We're bad.
I know,
because
you guys are really
us and the videographer, like action shots. We're like all about that. We don't care about your bed.
No, I know.
And granted, in most situations, we're doing a lot of these shots in a hotel room,
right?
And those beds are way sturdier. Like getting a slow motion shot of like everyone jumping on the bed, like maybe with a champagne, smiling, happy. Like it looks amazing for the video.
It does.
However, it does not bode well when you break $1,000 bed. Or what? 4,000? Was it really? Those are $4,000.
Yeah.
Because what's it called? What's the type of bed? Because it goes into the wall. A Murphy bed.
Yeah, it's in its own little cabinet.
Okay.
But that was just something, I wanted to create a space where the bride could get ready, also pictures could be taken, and that it would look really nice. It would photograph really well, but it would also serve as a space where people could get ready and.
So you need to make one for guys, right? With a gym built into it.
So I'm actually working on that. That will be what happens this year. We already have the building.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's in front of where my floral studio is. So the plan is to just convert it to the groom's lounge.
Oh, that'd be cool. Well, you need to have some gym stuff. I can help you set that up.
That's what I plan on having. Some gym stuff, like a dartboard, TV, refrigerator. They don't really need as much. It definitely won't be as fancy as the.
I feel bad for the bride. So I'm like shooting a wedding one day, and we're like 30 minutes out from the wedding, right? And the bride's like talking to the assistant photographer. I'm doing video on this wedding, and she's like, "Hey, the guy's getting ready yet?" And then she's like, "No, they're drinking beer, still swimming in the pool outside." And she's like, "What?" And of course, the guys were ready to go.
Yeah.
They were totally ready to go 30 minutes later. But it was just cracking me up because, I mean, the bride's like, there's hours of getting ready. We're like, it's stressful and like things are happening and like I'm in their face with the video. And the guys are literally like 30 minutes out, just like, whatever, dude, man. We're drinking our alcohol, smoking our weed, doing whatever we want to do, just chilling. Oh, we got 10 minutes? Yeah, let's go throw a tux on real quick and run to the venue.
Every time. I mean, it's like that every time. I have brides that start, 7 o'clock in the morning doing hair and makeup.
And the bride's still the one that's late.
Going all day long. And sometimes the events go until 11 o'clock at night. Is
that so? Is there a cap for your guys' area for like how late you guys can?
Yeah, 11. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, sound is out by 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so usually everybody's gone.
But and then you don't really have. Do you have neighbors that can hear, anyways?
Yeah, I mean, I've installed a surround sound system that kind of helps mitigate the sound from traveling too far. You can hear it some, but I mean. Yeah,
I thought we were all going to die from lightning strikes the first time I shot you guys.
Yeah,
that was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, that was the craziest weather I've ever dealt with at a wedding.
Same here. Like and since then we've not had anything.
I've had one other time. I literally had to walk off. Like the wedding was like it started just pouring down rain in the middle of it was outdoor wedding, and they started to walk, and it was raining so bad. I literally just took my equipment, walked over to the thing, didn't shoot like any of their ceremony because it was so bad I couldn't shoot it. But like. Thankfully, yours had, we had the little area where
pavilion,
the pavilion where
so that's the rain plan.
But
yeah,
that lightning strike or whatever that was,
twice it was.
It was. I almost dropped my camera twice.
Well, it struck twice, almost in the same place.
Yeah, it was it's the loudest.
Yeah, it was crazy. That's definitely in 10 years of operating that venue. That was the first and only time anything like that had happened.
I feel bad for your team though, because like you had guys just like soaked, running in and out, like trying to make sure, because it was outside originally, and I think you guys moved it up there, didn't you? Because of the rain coming in.
No, we moved. So all the catering was set up in another pavilion, and so since it was raining, I had everybody transfer all the catering food up to the top pavilion so that none of the guests had to get out in the rain. And then, so by the time everybody was done eating,
that's right. Okay,
the rain had stopped and everybody was, everything was good at that point.
It was a wild day.
But that is the point. That is what I try to drive home, is that's
that unique experience.
We're troubleshooting the entire day. So
there's no being lazy.
There's no being lazy. There's no, Mom said she'd do it, or Aunt Kathy said she was going to help, or none of that, because that just causes nothing but stress. Every time I hear somebody say, well, my aunt's going to help with this, or my cousin said she was going to do this, like I say, well, that's great, but I'm going to take care of it. If they want to help, fine. But I don't like to leave it up to.
How do you get their trust? Because I feel like there's a level of like trust you have to build with these people to allow you to finally just give up some of that control.
It is, because most of the brides I work with are very controlling.
Well, yeah, it's their special day. They've been planning this in their head since they've been 5.
And I think the biggest thing is that the proof is there. Like the years of experience are there. You can look on my Instagram, and it's just wedding after wedding of it being successful and beautiful. I've got recommendations from mothers of the brides, which I feel like sometimes are even more critical of the day than even the bride is sometimes.
Oh yes, I've had mothers. I had a mother hit the wedding planner at a wedding because she was so upset with her. But the mother was just like a motherzilla, like literally she was telling me what to do the whole day, telling me how to do my job. And I just, of course smiled and take the shot that she wanted, and then went back to doing what I did.
And I think a lot of it is you have to help people realize that, they're hiring this professional for a reason, like I'm not going to go into an emergency room and pretend like I know what I'm doing. Same as you're coming into, you never have events. You never coordinate events. I try to tell people sometimes who are having trouble, really realizing the whole big picture is, think about if you're going to have 4 people come over for dinner, the amount of work that is going to cause for you to do, for that, the day before, the day of, and the day after.
Yeah, 100%.
For having 4 people over. So if you're doing a wedding of 150 people, that is that amount of work just multiplied. So it's definitely a lot of coordination and kind of getting in front of the problem.
Yeah. I mean, you guys even hire bartenders to come out and take care. Do most of your brides and grooms, most of them do some kind of open bar?
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty common. I mean, we'll do like a signature cocktail for them, like a his and her cocktail, and then I have different seltzers and kind of.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, but both the weddings, they both had different signature cocktails in them, if I remember correctly.
And I work with them personally to try to come up with something.
Oh, so you actually talk to them about kind of an idea of what?
Oh yeah, every detail. I mean, for
do you ever have any bride and grooms that just do it, just whatever?
Yes.
like we want to be as hands off as possible.
Yes,
like
I do.
Unless it's a big decision, like double check with us. But other than that, like I'm going to roll with whatever you say.
Yeah, I do have a lot of that, and I think those are oftentimes the ones that really turn out
because
really well.
It's like letting a professional basketball player, but minus some guy in high school run the team, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you've been there, you've done it. And so why wouldn't it? I mean, in theory, why wouldn't it run well? Because you get to run it, in a manner of speaking, you get to run it the way you want to run it, the way you know it works.
Well, and my biggest concern is that they're going to have a good experience. So, like, that is who you would want.
Now, have you guys seen major growth year in and year out? Especially since you've been back in Kentucky and you've been so much more hands-on.
Yeah, and I mean, this is true with anyone in the wedding business. Weddings bring more weddings. So
yeah,
just the more you do, the more like those 150 people that show up leave having a good experience. They'll talk about it. If someone mentions a wedding or mentions being engaged, like the majority of my weddings come from word of mouth, somebody talking to somebody else.
Have any of your bride and grooms had a bad experience in their opinion? Not saying that they actually had a bad experience.
Yes.
How do you deal with that?
So,
because you can't, I'm sorry, but I've learned this, man. I've had people get mad at me for my videography before, and I show anybody else the video I put together, and they were like, "That was amazing," but for some reason, they were not happy.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've had people, just one really. I mean, honestly, in 10 years,
that's not bad.
that was just, she was furious, and I honestly think it was just a miscommunication, because I don't want to feel like I'm very forgiving. So I don't want to feel like, she really set out to have a bad day, but she kind of set out to have a bad day. Like, just from
her mindset wasn't in the right place
from the beginning. And it's like, I had a bride and groom just about 3 weeks ago, and it was raining the whole time leading up to their ceremony.
Right.
I was trying to push it back. We'd already pushed it back, 30, 45 minutes. I was watching the Doppler the whole time, and I'm wanting to push it back another, like 30 minutes. And they're both like, we don't care. We like the rain. Let's just do it. And it was a really soft rain. It wasn't like downpour. But they came out, did the ceremony. It was beautiful. The pictures turned out beautiful. They got a great video. There's all these.
I don't know how good it was if I wasn't there.
Well, yeah. There was all these clear umbrellas in the crowd. And
I could see that being
it was just
really cool pictures.
It was really beautiful. And what made it so good though is like you could just see it on their face. They were completely unbothered by it. And for me, that's one thing I want to try to get across to, couples getting married, is that you kind of just have to roll with some things, like you have to plan a lot of planning,
but not everything is going to come out perfect.
A lot of meetings, a lot of phone calls, a lot of texting. You have to do all of that. But when it gets down to the day of and it's raining or whatever, like you have to roll with those things, because those are things you can't do anything about. So when you're upset because it's raining, it ruins your day when you could just kind of flow with it and make the most out of it. And because you really don't have a choice, you can either ruin the day for yourself, or you can say, I'm just going to go with this.
Well, I think, as I've talked on many times on this podcast, language is everything. Just change the way that you perceive and look at things, because this is how it is.
Yeah.
And so if you can accept that and tell yourself, okay, it's going to be good. We're going to make it work. We're going to go with what we have. The rain's happening, or this is, the caterer's late. Things happen.
Now that I do have some issues with.
I've seen that happen at so many weddings.
Yeah, like,
where the caterer's running behind and like someone's freaking out, But at the end of the day, like, people are there for you. It's your day. The food's a little bit late. Guess what? They're gonna be okay with it.
Well, so that's what I try to get in front of is, I'm recommending you a caterer that I know is going to be there on time. And sometimes people want to use other caterers, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
As long as they're a reputable caterer. But it's like, I have my specific person, and I know that they show up an hour before ceremony time every time. Like, I don't have to remind them. I just tell them when the ceremony time is, and they're always there an hour before, set up, ready to go. So that as soon as the wedding's over, we're ready to go with cocktail hour.
Does that affect the food at all, being there so early?
No,
Okay.
Because they're starting cooking early that morning.
Okay.
And it's all kept in warming boxes.
Right.
but you don't want your caterer showing up unless you're where my venue is, everything's right together. I want everything to happen before the ceremony. That way there's no pans clanging and people talking and shouting and, grab this from the truck, and, none of that's happening during the ceremony. All that's already taken place. Everybody's calm and quiet, and they all know to just kind of sit and chill.
Right.
Because most ceremonies take, 15 minutes, if that.
It's not a Catholic ceremony.
No, I have had a few of those. But yeah, most of the time it's an outdoor, ceremony, and it's kind of like, I feel like a lot of the people that get married there, they're not attention seekers, they're not wanting.
So kind of the most boring part of the day in some aspects.
Well, yeah, I mean, we try to liven it up. I do these confetti cannons and try to, make it where it's, because again, I'm all about creating the moment.
Right.
So I want the fairy tale moment.
That's what they want. Let's put it that's what she wants.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I really do feel like it just makes everything kind of flow better. And then I'm also after the ceremony and the bride and groom are being pulled in 100 different directions, taking pictures, like 10 or 15 minutes in, I'll show up with a cocktail for both of them, and just little things like that, so that, because you'll be surprised how little the bride and groom are thought about in between that time from the ceremony till the actual reception.
Or when they're trying to get the one thing that I always think is cool that venues do. Well, not all venues do. They don't catch on to this, but like as soon as the ceremony's over with, I'm usually, me and the photographer, we're grabbing, if I'm doing photo, video, whatever, we're grabbing them and we're putting them to work. We're getting our pictures and videos, and like everyone else has got cocktail hour. They're getting their drinks and food, from cocktail hour, and they want that too.
Yeah.
They're hungry. Believe me, they're just as hungry as all their guests.
Oh yeah.
And I always think it's really cool when like you said, they bring over their little cocktail, they bring them over some food. We'll stop taking pictures or video for like 2 or 3 minutes so they can just scarf something down real quick. And honestly, that will change especially if they're hungry, if they're thirsty, that will change their mood so much, so fast. And it will help us do a better job at our job.
You'll get better pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just something I realized early on, it's just trying to keep them happy and make sure that, they're being seen and taken care of.
So how have you, another thing I've noticed that I feel like a skill set that you have is how to hover without hovering. if you know what I mean.
Yes.
You know how to be there and take care of a situation without making them feel like, why is this guy over my shoulder like every 2 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, you had asked somebody that was upset with me, and that was one of her complaints, is that she felt like I was never there. And I was, but I'm just not. One, I don't want to be in your pictures.
Right.
And then 2, I shouldn't be seen, really. I shouldn't be the focus.
But the second you notice they need something, it's like someone's there to take care of it. I at least, I'm only going off a few experiences here, but I'm thinking that's how it is every time.
Well, I mean, 10 years would say that.
Yeah.
That's probably true. I mean, so yes, I do offer, give that service to everyone. I mean, I want to make sure that everybody's taken care of, but also that I'm not, it's not all about me or what I'm trying to accomplish.
Right.
I just want to make sure that if I can see somebody looking for something, that I'm answering that question, taking care of it.
So how are you looking at like growth in the business, like on a more financial side of things, because eventually you're not gonna be able to do this forever. Like you're going to want to get to a point. I know you love to travel.
I do. Yes.
And I'm sure you would love a little of that residual income. I'm guessing finding someone that kind of fits that same line of you and the way that you think and operate.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hardest part, because it's just, and I mean, I do have an excellent team of people that are very, dedicated to it and taking care of that. But yeah, I honestly don't know where it goes beyond that. I mean, I know at this point I want to build more. I want to have more, cabins for people to stay in, because I would love it if, the whole bridal party and the groom and groomsmen all could stay on site, right. Or, mom and dad also had a place, and
What you need to do is you need to figure out how to find someone, build a small training program, and then sell that shit and start traveling and going to wedding venues and being like, let me show you how to make whoever your manager is or whatever you call. Is there a specific name for a person that kind of runs the venue for the day?
No, I mean, there's
we could create something. We'll create a name.
Event planner.
A whole new separate name.
Yeah.
The Joss Samples way.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Have you had the Joss Samples training yet?
Yeah.
Then you're not a good wedding venue. No.
I mean, that is a good idea. I like.
Well, I feel like it would fit. It would fit what you enjoy doing.
Yeah. Because it is a lot of.
And you could start at yours because it would take you teaching someone and making the mistakes with that person or multiple people as you get halfway in and you're like, oh, this guy's not going to work. Sorry, you got to go. You know what I mean? And building a template off that. And then I think 100% successful wedding venues would totally be open to having someone come to their venue for 6 months or 3 months. I don't know. You build like a training to teach that venue how to be more efficient because pretty much you've already been successful, right? And I'm guessing there's growth year in and year out, right? I'm guessing financially you have X amount of percentage growth.
Yes.
And it looks like it's going to continue to have that for the future. But there is going to probably be a max, right, amount at some point in time.
So many Saturdays.
Right, exactly.
In the summer.
But you just got to start convincing people Wednesdays and Thursdays are just good.
Well, no, I do Wednesdays and Thursdays.
I know you do.
I'll do little small 20-person weddings during the week. Like little 3-hour things. I have not a huge number of those, but I still do them every year.
But at some point in time, I mean, you're not going to want to do this forever. Like I know you love to do it, but it's going to be hard. You got to figure out a way to.
I mean, it's honestly, it's like it could be an old man's job. It's not.
Well, yes,
I don't know that I could run around and do 20,000 plus steps.
But by then,
Saturday.
hopefully, you found somebody somebody younger that's your age now.
Yes,
that could kind of take the reins.
Yeah, I would ideally like to find someone that.
You also just might be that type of person. You're just never going to give up. You're just like, I love this too much.
Yeah,
I enjoy the control because when I have control, things go the way they need to go. People are happy. The venue keeps growing.
I'm definitely very much a control freak like that.
Or just start franchising.
Yeah,
but I don't know how you can make another venue the way yours is. It would be hard.
But it could be done. I mean,
it could. Well, especially with your dad's company.
Yes,
they have the
right now
experience and know-how to actually, technically speaking, duplicate what you guys have.
Yeah, I mean, if someone had a little over $1 million, you could potentially recreate, and then if you followed all of the little formula of things that I've kind of picked up over the years, it could definitely be a successful venue. It would take. It has to be a passion because I hear a lot of people that will come.
So you think that's a big thing for where you're at is to do what you do as well as you do it? You think it really has to be something you believe in and you're passionate about? Yeah,
because I mean you're inviting people to your for me they're coming to my home place. They're you're just taking on so much responsibility at that time. Like you really have to. Kind of, I don't know, take on each couple that you come in contact with. You kind of have to take on whatever their aspirations are for the day and what they're looking for, plus things they're not even thinking of.
Right. And I'm guessing that's different every couple, right? Because as they tell you things and you're checking things off, I mean, there are certain things that every couple's going to want, right? The same, pretty much. Yeah. But there's going to be things that they're going to say and then you're reading between the lines being like, oh, well, what do you guys think about this? And they're like, oh, we didn't think about that. But that's 100% what we need. Like
I not all the time, but I will get the compliment of, it was more than what we thought it could be.
Right.
Which is a huge compliment. Because I know that people are, especially brides, are really thinking about all these details,
Again, they've been thinking about it since they were 5 years old.
For a long time. So it's a huge amount of pressure to kind of put that out there. But also I feel like I'm really good. I'm a really good gift giver. And I think it's just I'm able to put myself in the shoes of someone else So once I kind of, after a couple meetings with someone, I learn their aesthetic. I learn a little bit about their personality. That really informs me on, things that are going to be good for them, things that they're going to like, things that they're probably not going to be as excited about. And that I think is probably my biggest strength in doing this, is being able to adapt to each person.
Oh, I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I really believe in what you got going on. Also, I just think, I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this.
Thank
Like,
you.
you giving me ideas as a videographer here, but I mean, I've always been more interested in knowing more about how a wedding venue is run, and you really impressed me. Like I said, like, when and if I get married, like, unless my bride is beating my ass telling me it ain't gonna happen,
Yeah.
like, I know where I want to get married at.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
But I mean, any last minute, kind of as we're wrapping up here, any other things you want to throw out there?
I mean, I think we've kind of went over all the from college till now.
Kind of like,
Yeah.
you've had a really interesting life.
It's been fun. Yeah, you got the condensed version for sure.
Yes.
But I have. I'm very fortunate in that respect to be able to just make a living out of something that I really enjoy doing.
Right.
I mean,
Like, you really do have a passion for it. Like,
yeah, I do. I mean, there are some days that I'm, very, very much ready to just pack up and leave.
anybody that does what they love to do, and I
Yeah.
do here, doing the personal training, doing the videography, the photography, 100%. There are literally days that I'm just like, man, I do not want to do this photo shoot today, or I don't want to do this wedding.
Yeah.
Get there, put my positive thinking, positive attitude hat on, change my language, and I knock it out of the ballpark. But yeah, there's 100% times when you're just like, you're spread too thin.
Well, yeah, if you don't experience it, you don't feel that, then there's no passion there. And if there's no passion, then
Right.
you're really struggling.
So, and there are also days when you get upset because things don't run the way that you did everything you could to make them run.
Oh, yes.
And so it's not that the job itself is just like, oh my God, I'm so frustrated that like I have missed. There's one time, they sent me, so I had a third party company hired me to do this videography. They sent me the wrong address. The address I was supposed to be at to like catch the couple, they're like kind of before the ceremony pictures, was 45 minutes away. So when I found, because they're like, the couple's like, where are you at? I'm like, this is where I sent. I'm like, where am I supposed to be at? They're like, this place in Tennessee. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to be there. So I rush there, get there, start taking pictures. It ends up going great. Like, they weren't too upset. We got great pictures, right? Then the place I was supposed to be at, the next place I was supposed to be at was where I was at earlier, is the church. So I rush back. Well, they're running a little bit behind. So by the time I get to the church, I don't know how they got there before me. They were walking down the aisle.
Oh, God.
I didn't even have my camera out. So, and I was actually doing video. The photographer had gotten not lost, but he was running even further behind. So he walks in, they're halfway through the ceremony.
Oh, God.
Like, they weren't waiting.
No. No.
And they were from, it was in, country India. So, some people from other countries do things a little bit different when it comes to weddings, and they don't wait.
Yeah, there was no way.
I guess I never heard back. I got great footage, but I just felt horrible because when you're trying to set up 3 cameras, they're already walking down the aisle.
Yeah, it doesn't give you much time.
I had no time.
Yeah.
But again, I was upset. It was frustrating, but it was out of my control. I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
But if you don't get upset and frustrated about something like that, then you really don't care.
No.
Like I was upset because I didn't get everything I feel like I needed to get for them that day.
For them, yeah.
That's what I was upset about. It wasn't that, it wasn't another reason. It was literally because I didn't get the job done. Like, I didn't feel like I did my job properly, even though it was outside of my circumstances. I still feel like I should have had control. Somehow been able to rewind and make them start from the beginning of the aisle.
Oh, well, yeah. No, I know what you're saying. I've definitely been in that situation, close to that, where
you're a step behind.
You're just a step behind. Yes.
And there's nothing you could have done about it.
Yeah.
Like, you did everything, you prepared. Sometimes it just doesn't happen that way. So, But Josh, it's been awesome talking to you. As always, guys, we'll pop up his Instagram, and of course, you guys probably got to see some of the cool footage. I'll add some links down below for the YouTube video, so you guys can take a look at the wedding video I did for them, the venue video that we did for them.
Plug.
And yeah, exactly, plug for me and him, and the extra building that you guys put up.
Yes, the
Chateau. So you guys can check that out. And I guess, we'll throw his information in there for anybody out there that's, listening to this and deciding they want to be at the coolest wedding venue in Kentucky, maybe on this side of the East Coast. I'm just saying, reach out to Josh. And of course, if you need a good wedding photographer or videographer, we can cover it all.
Got it all right here.
Right here. So, that's really what we just spent the last, hour talking about. It's a big sales pitch to hire us to do your wedding.
Exactly, yeah.
You guys thought you were listening to a podcast. Anyways, but no, seriously, Josh, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
And as always, guys, we'll catch you next time.